Bills, bills, bills. Bills and expenses seem to be the bane of people's existence, especially right now. And if you find yourself in a place where you're frustrated and overwhelmed with the amount of bills that you have, and you can't seem to find the right income or the source of income that you need right in this moment, this video might be for you. And my name is Shari, and I like to say that I'm a human who has gotten it wrong, but I've learned some things through my experiences that I'd like to share. And I invite you to continue on your journey without disclaimers, without the shame of past choices, but also without denying the responsibility that we have to make better choices going forward. So today, we're gonna talk about how I personally found a way to make friends with my bills, or to befriend my expenses. So stay tuned. The first step is really, really simple and very, very quick, and that is to make a decision. A decision about what? That seems too simple. It really is that simple. Make a decision about what it is you want to do with your money. Do you want to give and be generous with people? Do you want to spend? Do you want to go on vacations more? Do you want to save? Do you want to get out of debt? When you make a decision, that is the first step. You are responsible for your life. And that is a reality check that a lot of us need to have. And when we have that reality check, we realize that it starts with a decision. And yes, there is another step after that decision is made, because now the work begins. The decision is the easy part, but now the real work begins. And I'll get to that step next. So the second piece is accountability. So now you've made a decision, and now you want to hold yourself accountable to the decisions that you've made. The decisions that you made were things that you desire to see in your life because of the money that you have, because of your income. So now you want to hold yourself accountable to the decisions that you've made. And if you need somebody in your life, if you need one of your friends, for example, or a family member to help hold you accountable and say, no, you don't want to spend that because this was the decision, the priority you put on the money that you have. And I've heard somebody say before that there are preferences and then there are priorities. And sometimes we confuse the two. We say, I want this, but we don't act as though it's a priority. So right now it's simply a preference, but you're not putting in the work to make it a priority and therefore make it come to fruition. And I think a lot of us need work in that area. A lot of the time, it's not how much money we make, it's actually a character thing. We think more money is gonna fix our spending habits, but that's not necessarily true. A lot of the time, we need to work with the less that we have, be good stewards over the income that we have right now as we are pursuing more. Of course, you can continue to pursue more, but we can't think that just by having more money, all of a sudden our problems are gonna be fixed. How many lottery winners have gone bankrupt? Right? How many very professional six-figure earners go bankrupt? Okay, so it's not always a money issue. More often than not, it's a character or a character issue. And so there's no shame, there's no blame, right? There shouldn't be any blame. We're not gonna blame other people for the decisions that we've made. You decided where you're going to live and the rent prices go up. Now you're gonna make a decision. Am I gonna stay there, or am I going to pursue, maybe not everybody can move right away, but am I going to pursue moving to a cheaper, a more cost-effective, a more cost-efficient location? Or am I going to stay here and get my income up? Do I have enough to be able to stay here and get my income up? Or can I put myself in a situation where I'm able to stay here for a while so that I can move on to this next chapter in my life in a new area where it's not as expensive? But regardless, we are responsible for the decisions that we make. And so we need to hold ourselves accountable to the decisions that we make in that first step by either having somebody with us or putting the tools together so that we are able to pursue the decisions that we've made. So we need to hold ourselves accountable. The next thing that I encourage you to do is to give. And if you're a Christian especially, I encourage you to tithe. And if you don't know what tithing is, it means you take 10% of everything, every piece of income that comes your way, and you give it back to God. And I like to give to my local church, the one that I serve at and attend. There's a lot of debate in the Christian community about where exactly the tithe is supposed to go. Can't it just go to a charity? The Bible doesn't specify where this tithe is supposed to go. I, back in January 2019, felt a nudging in my heart that I needed to start tithing. It wasn't a compulsion. It wasn't a rush. You got to do this or you're going to hell type of thing. It was a peaceful feeling of you need to start tithing. It came out of nowhere because I wasn't really going to a church regularly back in January of 2019. It was just this feeling that I had that I needed to start doing. So, personal story, how tithing, I 100% believe that tithing helped me. And I'll tell you this, back in June of 2022, I resigned from my teaching position. I absolutely loved the school that I was teaching at, but I knew in my heart that it was time for me to move on. And I had very specific criteria. I felt it was God telling me to move on, in fact. Again, that kind of peaceful readiness to act. And so I resigned from my position, and I was unemployed for about 4 months before I finally received an offer and started my new job. But in those 4 months, I, of course, had my 3 children and with no job offers in sight until, of course, the one finally came. I remember I felt a peace, but of course, there were moments of, oh my gosh, I don't have income. I need income. And I remember one moment in particular, I was driving out of the Target parking lot because I probably was getting pull-ups or wipes or something. But I was driving out of the Target parking lot and I said, God, you are the one that told me to leave, to pursue a new direction, to pursue something else. So where's the job? I had $1,500 left. I had some savings, but it had dwindled because I did not miss a bill. I did not stop payments on anything. $1,500 left. And I was crying, and all I felt in my heart was, you still have $1,500 left. And the perspective shift, that was not my thought. That was God's thought. Okay? Because I was scared. $1,500 left. I said, okay, you're right. I have $1,500 left. I'm good. Let's keep going. Let's do the due diligence and keep it moving. So then when I finally got that offer, a job offer, I had $30 on a gift card left. Did not miss one bill. In fact, you know how when you start a job, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 weeks for your first paycheck to come in? My first paycheck came in 1 week later. 1 week after I started the job. And it was enough to cover every single bill and then some. God knew that my heart was not about money. It was about trusting in Him. That's what tithing is for me. Saying, God, I trust you. Whether or not some people have said, oh, I received the check in the mail for the exact amount that I tithe. I haven't experienced that. And that doesn't mean I'll never experience it. But that's not what my focus is. That's not what my goal is. That tithe is an immovable line item on my budget. And it is for a reason. It's a reminder to me that my heart is not set on money. My heart is set on pursuing God, period. So again, I highly encourage you to tithe. And if you're not a Christian, to give so that your heart is not set on your money. It is set on glorifying God. And finally, I encourage you to get yourself on a budget. It sounds so silly, but it is so simple and it is life-changing. Get yourself on a budget. I 100% believe that had I been on a budget from when I first started earning a regular and larger income than what I was earning back in my, with my first job, had I started on a budget back then, I would have 100% paid off all of my debt by now. 100%. But I didn't start working with a budget until November 2020, which was a very interesting year. And I'll tell you right now, I had over $100,000 of debt in November 2020, but I made a decision and held myself accountable to that decision. And I have paid off over $60,000 in debt to date and still working on it. And so I encourage you to get yourself on a budget. I refuse to take out another loan. I refuse to do the 4 easy installments. If I can't buy it right now, I can't buy it. And that is, again, a decision that I made that I hold myself accountable to. Now, not everyone's situation is the same. And so an emergency might come up, right? I have an emergency fund as well, and I have some savings set aside as well. But emergencies come up. I cannot dictate how you are to run your life. I can only suggest what has worked for me. But I highly encourage you with this as well. Check your motive. Understand what an emergency is, or understand what it is that you should put in your budget. For example, needing to get a new outfit for this event that you're going to on the weekend is not an emergency. If it is not in your budget, don't start taking out loans or doing the 4 easy payments in order to pay for it. You don't have the money. I love to say this, that limitations breed creativity. I'm going to say that again. Limitations breed creativity. Have you ever been in a tight spot, but your resourcefulness kicks in and you realize, oh, I can do stuff with what I already have? If you limit yourself with your budget, using the decisions that you've made, if I want to be debt-free, I can't be spending whatever I feel like spending on. I have to say no to the shoes that I really, really want. I have to say no to the clothes that I really, really want. I have to say no, my vice is food. I have to say no to the food I really, really want in order to attain the debt freedom that I want to have. I want to save money. I want to build wealth for my kids and their kids. I want to give generously to people. And so in order to do that, I have some decisions I need to make right now. I can't get the shoes, I can't get the food, and I can't get the clothes, and that's the end of it. Until I've gotten myself into a place where I'm able to budget for those pricier things or that larger budget if I so choose. If all you had was a tiny, tiny budget, which is what you should live on less than you make. You don't have to use a credit card for everything or anything. When you limit what you're able to do through the decisions that you make and the accountability that you have, you can come up with all sorts of fascinating ideas that you never would have thought of if you just lived how everyone else normally lives, by taking out loans and taking out credit and getting credit cards. You don't need to do that. So I highly recommend you get yourself on a budget. I could not believe how much money I was spending on food, over $1,500 a month before I had a budget. And now I got that thing down to $500 a month for 4 people. $500 for 4 people. And it's wavered a little bit since then. It's gone up to maybe $600. That's just because some allergies came up and I had to figure out what else I was going to feed myself and my children because of those allergies that came up. And when you first start on a budget, just understand that you'll have to find that right balance. But again, it's all in your motive. You don't have to have ice cream every single night. So maybe you cut the ice cream out of your food budget and now you start lowering that budget. What do we actually need? Do we really need all these snacks? Do we really need all this variety? Take stock of your fridge, take stock of your pantry. What's molding in there because you just haven't touched it? Maybe you don't need to buy any more of that. Throw all that gunk out, right? Declutter, minimize, right? Minimize what you have. Get on a budget though. Get on a budget. I highly 100% recommend a budget. So to recap, make a decision or decisions about what exactly it is that you want to do with your money. Do you want to be able to give more generously? Do you want to get out of debt? Make a decision and then hold yourself accountable to the decision or decisions that you've made. Grab some accountability partners if you need to. Write it down. Seeing things in your own handwriting written down will often be one of the greatest reminders that you can give yourself, because it's like you made a commitment to yourself. And make sure that you tithe, especially if you're a Christian. Give. Make sure it's that 10%. I encourage you to make sure it's that 10%. There's a reason it's that 10%. And finally, make sure that you have a budget. Make sure that you budget and that you have a spreadsheet or some kind of platform where you're able to see what exactly it is you're spending and when. Be accountable for those things. And let me know, what are some things that you can also use to use the income you currently have in pursuit of the income that you want, or the lifestyle that you want, or the money that you want, or the job that you want? What are some other things that you can do, or what are some other things that you are currently doing? If this content resonated with you, make sure that you like and comment and subscribe and share and ring the notification bell to make sure that you are getting access to this content and notified of it regularly, but also share it to make sure that others are gaining access to this content as well, especially if you think that it will help them. I think there's some valuable things that I have learned, and that's why I want to share them with you, without disclaimers, without the shame of past choices, but also without denying the responsibility that we have to make better choices going forward. Thanks for watching.